Hola, muy buenas tardes. Solo para validar si algún participante fuera tan amable de indicarnos si nos escucha.
Por el chat, porque creo que tienen el micrófono
Cierto.
deshabilitado. Sí,
Por
ahí
el
se
chat,
escucha.
si fueran
Gracias,
tan
Enrique.
amables.
Ujú.
¿Sí?
Sí,
Ok, perfecto. Muchísimas gracias.
los conocidos, ¿eh? Qué bueno.
Ujú. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the webinar Best Practices in Financial Modeling. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time and participation. In this webinar, Ian Schnoor, Executive Director of the Financial Modeling Institute, will be taking a deep dive into what it takes to build a strong financial model. You will learn about common mistakes that are made when modeling and also get some tips on improving your skills. Our goal is that you take away practical, widely accepted financial modeling best practices, learning from one of the most recognized experts in this area. I am Cristina Eric Castilla. I'm the coordinator for the continuing and corporate education at the Business and Management School. I am industrial engineer graduate at UVG. I have been professor in the past, and I'll be your host today. So, before we dive in, a few quick technical notes. We encourage you to have an active participation. Please feel free to ask questions, share your thoughts in the chat, and engage with our speakers. We have the question and answer chat available, so please don't be shy to participate. Your questions will be answered at the end of the webinar, so please stick till the end. Our webinar will last approximately 1 hour and 30 minutes. This webinar will be recorded and the recording will be available to you afterward. If you encounter any technical issues, please use the chat to reach out and our support team will assist you. So once again, thank you for being here. Let's make this webinar a valuable and engaging experience together. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, I would like to introduce Jorge Rojas, Associate Professor at UVG. He holds a PhD in Finance from Tulane University. He's a CFA chart holder and member of the CFA Society of Mexico. He is also a training provider for the Financial Modeling Institute, as well as a CFA prep provider for the CFA Institute. Jorge, welcome to this webinar.
Thank you.
And to kick off, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ian Schnoor, who will delve into best practices in financial modeling. He's executive director of the Financial Modeling Institute. He has extensive experience as a consultant and trainer with the Marquee Group for over 21 years. He creates content for the CFA Institute in the area of financial modeling practical skills modules. And he's been teaching advanced financial modeling for over 13 years at the Smith School of Business at Queen's University. Ian, welcome. The screen and microphone are all yours.
Wow. Thank you, Christina, for that very warm welcome and introduction. I feel like you should deliver this webinar with me. That was great. Thank you.
Nice.
It is great to see all of you here this evening. Now, Jorge, did you want to say a minute to kick things off as well, or are you going to wait until the end?
Just go ahead. Go ahead. You're on the spot now. Go ahead.
I'm on the spot. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I am really excited to be here this evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Christine, I'll ask you to help me out for a second just to make sure you can see it okay. Is that right?
Yes, we can see your screen, Ian.
You can see my screen. Fantastic. Well, hi, everyone. As Christina mentioned, I like to keep these sessions. I've probably done sessions like this 150 times over the last few years all over the world. I'm really excited to be here with you. Tonight. There's a huge group of you, over 50 people, so I can see a bunch of you. Now, when you see me, if you see me looking over my shoulder like this, I have another screen, a big screen, and I can see all of you on my screen here. And I invite you and welcome you. If anyone wants to turn your camera on, you are welcome to be present. I am going to also be asking questions and trying to get your interest and involvement and answering some questions as we go along here this evening in this webinar. Before we get started, I'm going to do a little bit more of an introduction so you know a little bit more about my background. Can you guys give me a thumbs up, raise your hand if you can hear okay? I just want to make sure everybody can hear okay, can see okay. Give me a thumbs up. Thank you. Manuel, Alan, thank you. Jose, Alejandro, Carol, excellent. Gosh, I can see that. That is great. I can also, is great. Look at all these hands jiggling around here, which is super. I also have the chat open. I know Christina said that, we are going to be doing questions at the end, which is true, but I will try to be watching the chat as we go. And if you happen to have any questions as we go along here, then please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will do my best to kind of deal with them as we go here. And thank you to our first Sylvia Edgar for popping your cameras on. Great to have you. Now I can really pick on you, but no, just kidding. Great to see you all here this evening. So let me just jump in. Hi, Mauricio. Nice to see all of you. They're great, guys. It just feels much closer when everyone is here. Good stuff. Let's get started. I'm excited to do a bit of session with you. Now, as Christina mentioned, this is going to be around 90 minutes in total. I'm going to be speaking for the next 45 or 50 minutes, a session on some best practices I'm going to share with you, including some tips and some ideas on financial modeling. And then Jorge is going to spend a few minutes talking about the program he's doing, the preparatory program with us at the Financial Modeling Institute. And then we're going to leave a few minutes at the end for questions, either questions for him or for me. Okay, so that is our plan here. Now, very, very quickly, just to kind of dive in a little bit further. Now, most of my time in this webinar is going to be in Excel. I'm going to be showing you some tips and ideas and some shortcuts and a whole bunch of great skills. I think you're going to like them. But let me just quickly jump in with just a little bit more of a background. I mean, as Christina mentioned, I am currently the executive director of the Financial Modeling Institute. I'm here based in Toronto, Canada. Anybody been to Toronto? Raise your hand. Anyone been to Toronto before? No. Esteban, you're saying no? We'd like to have you up here. So when you're ready, but don't come in December. It's cold. You're not going to like that too much. But
I could go watch a Toronto Raptors game. So.
You want to come watch it? Oh, you want to come watch it? If you come up here, I'll get you tickets to a Toronto Raptors game. We will go together and see them playing. So you let me know.
Perfect.
And I'll get you some tickets to the Raptors. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. You've definitely heard of them. That is great. You let me know. And so I'm one of the founders and the currently executive director of the Financial Modeling Institute, which is the world's only financial modeling accreditation organization. Think of us like CFA, but for financial modeling. And I'm also the founder. I was also the founder of a training business called the Marquee Group. And at the Marquee Group for 20 years, I ran financial modeling training. The Marquee Group is a training business, and I ran training courses all over the world to 20 or 30,000 people in financial modeling over many, many years. And just earlier this year, I sold that business to Training the Street, which is a US company. And I also am an instructor at Queen's University. My point is, for most of the last 20, 25 years, I have been focusing all my time on the discipline of financial modeling. And I'm here tonight to share with you a few hopefully valuable tips and skills. So just let me spend 1 minute on the FMI, and then Jorge's going to talk a little bit more about FMI after. But as I mentioned, FMI is the only financial modeling accreditation organization in the world. And we have set out to kind of build an organization to help people learn, but then truly validate and prove that they have strong financial modeling skills through very rigorous, challenging exams. Our level 1 program is called the AFM, the Advanced Financial Modeler. Basically, in that program, you need to know how to build a full, proper, beautiful 3-statement financial model of a company from scratch, with proctored, with no help, with no resources. It's a very, very powerful skill. And, you know, we are seeing more and more organizations around the world needing this and wanting this. Let me ask you, and just out of curiosity, have any of you, I'm looking over at you now, has anyone, I've got a question, have any of you looked for a job or been in an interview, and in the interview, somebody asked you if you had financial modeling skills, or did you ever see a job posting, someone hiring, and on the job posting, they said they're looking for somebody, maybe a CFA, maybe an accountant, but they also want to hire somebody with strong financial modeling skills? Has anybody, raise your hands if you've ever seen a job posting or heard about a job that needs people to have strong modeling skills? Let me see if any thumbs go up here. Watch here. If anyone is it. Not many. Well, a few of you have. I am going to tell you that it has become one of the most important skills in all of finance and accounting. One of the most important skills you can have in finance and accounting is this skill of modeling. So we are here to help people both learn and then truly prove their skills. I just got back from a week in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. There's some large organizations there making this program, the AFM, mandatory for their own investment professionals, and it's really exciting to see what's going on. So I'm going to send these slides, and you can look at the slides after. I want to jump into why I'm really here today, which is to talk a little bit about financial modeling best practices. So let me exit this slide here, and I'm going to get into some Excel because I'm going to take some notes. By the way, I have a lot of slides, and I'm going to share these with you to review on your own after. But for now, I want to take some notes, and I will share my notes file with you as well. And by the way, in my Excel file, can you see, by the way, Christina, are you seeing you are seeing it, right, George? Okay, good. So it's switched over. Perfect. Beautiful. So you're seeing my notes. I'm going to share with you. So very specifically, I'm going to share 5 powerful ideas. I want to share in my next 45, 50 minutes, I want to share 5 powerful ideas. And then I got some questions for you. I want to talk this evening about 5 critical best practices. Number 1 being assumptions, modeling assumptions and keeping them up front. I want to talk about colors and color coding in financial models. I want to talk about the importance of what's called a scenarios page in a financial model. I want to talk about one of my favorite mantras, one of my favorite ideas in modeling. It's the idea of repeat and link. And then I want to talk about the idea called build it and link it. These are 5 critical best practices, and I'm going to dive into all of them over the next 45 minutes. But let me start by this. Let me ask you, how many of you here, raise your hands, how many of you here have built a financial model? Has anybody here in this room, who here, raise your hands if you have built a financial model before? I want to see who has done that. Raise your hands, guys. If anyone has done this, I want to know how many of you have actually done some financial modeling. See a bunch of hands. Some hands have gone up here, not a lot. Some of you have raised your hands. Some of you have built a model. Many of you have not. I'm looking over at all of you right now. So some hands, that's great. But I want to talk about what this discipline and what the skill is, and then share with you some really critical tips. So let's start with this. Let's start with a very simple question. And I'm going to ask you to please go into the chat. I'm going to ask you to please go into the chat, and I'm going to ask you this question, now you're here this evening to learn about some best practices in financial modeling, but hang on a second. Let me ask you, what is it? What is a financial model? If somebody said to you, what's a financial model? What would you say? Go ahead. And I'd love to see some answers in the chat. Feel free to type something in English or Spanish. Feel free to type it in English or Spanish in the chat. My Spanish is not great, but thankfully Christina's here as my translator to help me. So feel free to, I'd like to know what you think. If someone said to you, what is a financial model? What would you say? I want to know what your sense is of this. And then I'm going to talk about why this is such an important skill. Don't be shy. I'm sure you have some ideas. Who wants to go first here? Who wants to go first? What is it? What is it? Someone says, okay, love it. Esteban says a summary of any company's operations. Okay, great. There's some absolutely truth to that. It's a summary of a company. So first of all, he talked about it being regarding a company. Good. A financial model usually relates to a company. Great. What do we got here? So Yuri says it's a simulation of what could happen. I love that, Yuri. What could happen in a project? It says an overview of a company's financial status. Excellent. Different scenarios and projections. Good. right? It's great. So these are all, what is this? Elena says numeric representation of the operations of a company. Excellent, excellent. Lots of great ideas. Let me put down here. So I'm going to put some notes as well. You have talked about, as some of you have said, it's a summary of a company's operations. That's all true. That's all true. But let me tell you fundamentally what we're talking about is if somebody ever says to you, what is a financial model of a company? I will tell you it is simply a forecast. That's it. So it is. So you are all correct. It is an overview of the company's financial status, right? As some of you said, but I like what you said, Yuri. You talked about what could happen, meaning it's simply a forecast. We are building a forecast of a company. We're building a forecast of the company, of their financial statements. We are simply building a forecast of the company's financial statements into the future. How far? How many years, by the way? How many years? Type in some numbers, guys. Go in the chat. How many years do you think people typically forecast if they are going to make a forecast into the future? What do you think? Take a guess. Type something in the chat. How many years do people, right? 1, 3, 5, 5. A lot of people saying 5, sure. 5 years is very common. 3 to 5. Yeah, very good. Very, very commonly. So I'm not sure if it's Ellie or Eli says 25, and it is true. Some people do. Some people do. Right. So exactly. Yuri says in real estate. So in some industries, people build longer forecasts. So I will tell you that it is typically 5 to 10 is pretty normal, but in some industries, like in real estate, right, Yuri, or in mining, but in some industries, they can be longer, say 25 plus years. It doesn't really matter. The point is, yeah, commonly people forecast 5 to 10 years, but sometimes it's longer. That part, it doesn't really matter. All we're trying to do is build a forecast. And now let me ask you why. Why do we forecast? Why is it? So I'm trying to forecast. Let me just put it this way. I'm trying to forecast their income statement, their cash flow statement, their balance sheet. That's what I'm trying to do. So then the question is why? Why do we forecast? Why are we forecasting? Why is that? And it has become the most important task in accounting, in many accounting and finance roles, is to build a forecast. Why? Type it in. Why are we forecasting? Why is it so critical to be able to build a powerful forecast of a company's financial statements? What do you think? Why is so relevant? Why is it so to make decisions, right, Sylvia? Thank you. I will tell you that models have become the most important decision-making tools in finance. Financial models have become yes, good, love it, to analyze risk, to assess the convenience of a decision. Perfect, great answers. What I will tell you is the models have become the most important decision-making tools in finance. So let's just quickly do this, and then I want to get into my 5 tips and best practices. Types of, so what types of decisions, what types of, yeah, exactly. What kinds of decisions are we making with our forecast models? Well, first of all, valuation, right? Valuation. People are building models to make valuation decisions. Right. I like it. Fernando, you said investment decision, feasibility. Love that. Someone talked about risk. Who's that? Was it Eli said cash? Someone, yeah. Esteban said to analyze risk, to evaluate risks in a project, right? We build models to look at cash and debt requirements. There are lots of reasons why people build models. And what I will tell you is almost every major decision gets made these days is based off of a financial model. But there is a problem. The problem is very simply that most financial models in spreadsheets are a mess. Most financial models people are a mess. In fact, so many of them are actually a disaster. Many models that people build in spreadsheets are a mess. They're very hard to understand, they're hard to use, and they don't work very well. And as a result, if the model doesn't work well, then it's very difficult to make these decisions, and it's very difficult to get good information to make these decisions. I've got a question. Can you guys raise your hand? I'm going to ask you a question. Has anybody here, has anybody ever opened up an Excel spreadsheet that you did not build? You did not build it, but you opened it up. And when you opened up that spreadsheet, you thought to yourself, my God, I will never understand this spreadsheet. It's a disaster. How am I ever supposed to understand what's going on here? It's impossible. Has anyone ever seen a spreadsheet like that? And you thought, what the heck is going on? Is yes. It says, yeah, look, a bunch of people raising your hands. Sure you have, right, Carol? You've seen that before. I'm sure you've never done it, right? Christina's never done it, but you've seen it. You've heard of it. You've seen it. Most spreadsheet models are a disaster. And because of that, it makes it very difficult. So what I want to do is share with you 5 very simple tips today to make it much easier to work with forecast models. Again, let's rewind. What did Jose said? It's easier to start your own from scratch. Yeah, so you're right, Jose. Jose says sometimes it is easier to start your own than to understand someone else's. I agree with you. The problem is many times you're going to work on a project and you will have to receive someone else's. I want you to be able to provide feedback. And so I want you to be able to give comments and feedback to somebody else to say, hey, Esteban, your model's not working very well. And here are some ideas to help you improve it as well. Yeah, exactly. So lots of, I like Jose, Jose, both of you, you've seen lots of problems and issues. I agree with you. Can I tell you, most people around the world have seen or built models that don't work very well. And it's huge. There's a huge risk when the models don't work well because it makes it very hard to make good decisions. So let me share with you 5 tips today. Let me share with you 5 tips today that will help you build strong, powerful financial models. I'm going to show you one. Let's look at a Henderson model. I'm going to show with you a model on the screen here. Can you take a look at my screen, please? This is the sample model for anybody that goes through the AFM program as part of Financial Modeling Institute. If anyone goes through the AFM program, that program teaches you and then tests you on your ability to build a really beautiful 3-statement model of a company similar to this one. So you can see here what I have on this model. This is a company called the Henderson Manufacturing Company. I'm going to send it, by the way. I am going to send it after this webinar. So you're going to have it. You will have it. You'll get access. You'll be able to see it. You'll look at it. You'll be able to play with it. This is a manufacturing company called Henderson, and we built a 5-year forecast. Look what I have here. There is a cover sheet. There's a simple cover sheet. I want the model, right? Henderson, so one of the things I want you to know is this. You'll hear me say this a lot if you go through the program. A good model needs to be a powerful communication tool. A good model has to be a powerful communication tool. It needs to tell a story. Your model has to tell a story about the company so that everybody looking at it understands it and they feel very, very confident in that story and in the company. So how does a story start? Well, all stories should start at the beginning. Has anybody, how many of you, raise your hand, I'm looking at you guys. Has anybody had to build in the last year a PowerPoint presentation? Has anyone had to do a report in school or some sort of a PowerPoint? Raise your hands if you've done recently. Carol, you've done one, right? Esteban, you've done some sort of a slide deck or Google Slides or something. How many of you? I'm sure most of you have. Sure, many of you have built presentations. Well, what is the very, very first thing that you would include on your PowerPoint? A cover page, obviously. Obviously, you want to include a cover page because it sets the stage. It tells your reader what you're doing, what it's about. It gives people confidence, and that's a starting point. Now, can I ask you, can you go next? Can someone go into the chat? If you build a PowerPoint presentation, right after the cover sheet, what's next? What do you always put in your PowerPoint deck right after the cover. You always have your cover page, and then what do you put next every time? What do you always put next after a cover page? Elena, an index, sure. I like a table of contents, sure. An index, okay. An agenda, love it. Yeah, sure. Table of contents, good. But what after? So some models will have that. Some models, some financial models can have an index, a table of contents, absolutely. This one does not, because many models have the same order, but there's nothing wrong with it. I love it. Sure. An agenda, an index, sure. But what about the first real? What would be the first real? So you have an agenda, a table of contents. Great. That's great. Very nice. I love it. But what would be the first real page that has real content, goals, a summary, right? Sylvia says, some sort of a summary, an executive summary. And I love all your comments here, right? Goals, but what sort of a summary? And I will tell you, in a financial model, the next thing we have here is some sort of an executive summary. We want to share with users the answer. What is the answer to this model? Let's look at some revenue, some EBITDA, margins, net income, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's some graphs, maybe it's some tables. It doesn't matter. The point is, the first thing I want to show my boss or my client is a cover page and then an executive summary. And then the next thing we like to show them is all of the model's assumptions. Now I'm going to show this to you. I'm going to show you a very powerful Excel skill here right now. First of all, I want to put a note that says model planning and flow is so important. It is so important, right? It is very important to plan every model. The order is critical. The order is very critical. This is how people will read it and understand it. And I will tell you here, a very common flow in a financial model would be a cover page, and then would be an executive summary page, because that has the answer. Then we would like to have some assumptions. We're going to have our scenarios, which we're going to talk about. And then we have the calculations and financial statements. You're going to get these notes from me after, and you'll see this in our model. This is a very common flow in lots of models that allows people to understand what you're doing. But what I wanted to show you is this. What I told you today, tip number one of the first things I want to talk to you about strong modeling discipline is to have all of your assumptions in any model up front. So can you see here again, back in my model, when I go back to the Henderson model, here, you can see here again, the cover sheet, an executive summary. But the next thing I'm going to show my client or my boss is all of the assumptions. All of the data inputs are here on one sheet called assumptions. It's so important. And not everybody does that. What that means, guys, is that when you actually get to the model, let me show you the model sheet, please, for a second. The model sheet is all the calculations, and you'll take a look at it. The model sheet is all of the calculations. I have things like the revenue forecast. I have all of the company's cost forecast information here. I have their income statement. Like there's an income statement. Watch me as I go down the income statement, and then there's a cash flow statement, and then underneath the balance sheet. But the point is, there are no inputs. There are no inputs on this page. All of the inputs and assumptions are here up front. Has anybody, raise your hand, has anybody ever seen a spreadsheet? Has anyone here ever seen a spreadsheet and you were playing around in the spreadsheet, and way down on, there's a sheet way off to the side, and in row 800, there was a bunch of inputs. And have you ever seen an Excel spreadsheet where everywhere you go, all over the place, there's more inputs and more calculations and more inputs and more calculations, and everywhere you go, there's inputs everywhere? It's extremely, extremely common, and it's very frustrating to users. My point is, and some of you are saying you've seen that, right, Mauricio? My point is this. It is very important to keep the assumptions up front. Let's talk about that. One is keep the model assumptions up front. This is a very important, so that the reader can see all the inputs in one place, okay? So this is a very, very important idea, because it means that the reader can see all the inputs in one place, and the model user only goes to one place to make changes. You only have to go to one place in the model to make changes. So for instance, watch this. What if my boss was Esteban? Esteban, you can be my boss in this meeting today. And let's pretend Esteban was my boss. And does everybody see here? Can everyone see here that I have on some assumptions for the costs? This company has a bunch of, it's a manufacturing company, and this company has a bunch of costs. And I'm assuming that the raw material cost is going to be $226 per unit. Does everybody see that? $226 per unit. Well, what if my boss called me up, Esteban called me up and said, Ian, that's actually not a good number anymore. I need you to change that. I need the cost. I'd like you, the cost should be 250. Look what I'm doing. I need that cost to be 250, not 226, but really that cost is going to be 250. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to change it right here and make it 250, and I will push enter. Good. So I changed it, and that's going to update my financial statements. It's going to update the income statement. It's going to update all my numbers. Great. But the problem is, can you see, are you able to see right here what that did to all of my my costs and all of my net income? Can you see, where do I need to go? You can't see it. So where do you have to go if you want to see what happened to your income statement? I have to go here, right? Watch. If I want to see what that did, now I have to go to the income statement, and I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to the income statement, and I'm going to say what happened to the EBITDA and what happened to the net income if I changed the cost. But then I'm going to say, oh, now I think it should be two. Let's make it a higher. Every time I want to make the cost higher or lower, look what I'm going to do. I have to go back to the assumption, and I'll change it to something else. Maybe I want it to be 230. And now that I change it again, now I have to go back again. I'm always jumping back and forth, and people sometimes get very frustrated. So what some people wish they could do is people want to change the assumption here, and they immediately want to know right here, what is that going to do to the answer calculations? Well, I want to show you a very powerful feature. Watch this guy. There is a very powerful, it would be very nice to change assumptions and see the answers in the same place. Well, we can do this. There's a great feature in Excel, called the watch window. And I'm not sure if anyone has used this before, but I'm going to show this to you right now. The watch window feature lives here. It lives under the formulas menu. Does everyone see this? Formulas. And then there's a button that says watch window. Now, I don't like using, those of you who've met me or heard anything about me know, I don't like using my mouse. If you want to be a strong modeler, you must keep your hands on the keyboard and really never touch your mouse. Christina, do you ever touch your mouse? Hopefully you don't, right? You don't use your mouse, do you? You always keep your hands on the keyboard all the time, right? I sure hope so.
A lot of shortcuts.
Very good. A lot of shortcuts. So what would we do? If Christina wants to use the watch window, she's not going to click her mouse formulas and then click watch window. What we're going to do is press the Alt key on the keyboard. Now, this works on a PC computer, not a Mac. So this is one reason why it's a little advantageous to use a PC for modeling. But I can press the Alt key, and then the letters light up, and I'm going to press M. Formula has an M, so I'm going to go Alt M. And then watch window is the letter W. So it is going to be under the formulas watch window menu, which is going to be Alt M and then W, I think is what I said. Watch this, Alt M and then the letter W. So let's go. Let me show this great feature to you now. Watch this. Imagine please that we are going to be changing our costs. And every time we do that, we want to see what does that do to the answer. Look at what I can do. I am going to run the watch window. I'm going to go to the formulas menu, and I'm going to click watch window, and I get this box on the screen here. Actually going to delete them. I have a bunch in here. Let me delete them, and I'm going to put some new ones in. Okay. So you get a box, and it's going to be blank, this box. Everyone see that? It's blank. And I'm going to say here, add a watch, and I'm going to click add watch, and I'm going to go to the model sheet, and I'm going to click on EBITDA. Let me click on 3 years of EBITDA on my forecast, and I will click add. Very easy. Now, so I have my EBITDA right on the same page as my assumption. I'm also going to add another one, and I'm going to go to the model sheet, and I'm going to click on 3 years of net income. Can everyone see that? I've got my net income. I'm going to highlight 3 years of net income as well, and I will click add. Watch this. When I click OK, now I've got this great box here called watch window, and it's really amazing because take a look. If I ever go to my raw materials and I change in 250, right? Esteban wants me to make it 250 and I press enter. Please watch. Please take a look inside my watch window. When I click enter, look what happens. All of these numbers changed. So every time I change something up front, I can see deep, deep, deep inside my model what's happening. I can see the answers. I can see what's happening to the valuations, to the returns, to different credit ratios. Whatever I want to watch, I can watch up front. It's very powerful. So you can see, play with your numbers and see the answers at the same time. Really important skill, and I hope you use it. Does that make sense? Christina, are you going to use that one in some of your own work?
Definitely.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. Let me know when you do. Who else is going to try this one? Raise your hands if you think you'll try this in any spreadsheet. Esteban's going to, of course. Raise your Zoom hand if you think you'll try it. I want to know who's going to use it in any kind of a spreadsheet at all. It's a very powerful. Look at all these hands going up. Now you're committed. Now you're committed. You have to do it now, right? You must do it because you've said you're going to. Good. Excellent. So I know you're going to do it. And it's just, I promise you, if you do it once or twice, you will always remember it and you will use it. It's a great skill. People usually just don't know about it, but I wanted you to see it because it's such a powerful tool. Any questions on that, by the way? Any questions about that, by the way?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Ian.
Of
I
course.
have a question. Is there any way we can automate like the tracking of this watch window results? I mean, what happens, for example, if I want to like keep record of what the changes are? And is there any way I can link the watch window to another sheet or something? Or do I have
That's
to
an
do it
excellent
manually?
question. That's an excellent. So what you're saying is you want to run it at 250. You're saying you want to run 250 and you want to see the answers. But then when you run it at 275, these are changing, but you want to know what the answers were under 250 at the same time. Is that right?
Yeah.
There is a way to do that, and that would be by using, and I don't know if I'll have a chance, maybe towards the end of the webinar, if you stick around towards the end, I will show you. If you want to, does anyone have any guess? Anyone want to go to the, anybody want to go to the chat and type in what feature in Excel I can use, right? Because if you want, if you want to see the results to many cases at the same time, i.e., if you run many different costs and you want to see answers all for all of them, anyone know what we could do here? Any ideas? I'll show you very powerful. This is called sensitivity analysis. You need to run sensitivity analysis. And does anyone know, Esteban, what's the best feature in Excel to run sensitivity analysis? Very powerful skill in Excel. That is going to use, yeah, the scenario manager is fine, right? Or hey, it's okay. That's more for scenarios. Scenario manager can be used, which is fine. Yeah, solver, okay. Solver.
Maybe, maybe I don't know, maybe Monte Carlo add-in or something.
I could do it. I got a much more powerful tool. You can run the data table. You are going to need to know how to run a data table. Have you used those before, Esteban, data tables?
Yeah, I have.
Well, there's two types of them. There's what's called the one variable or two variable data tables. And this would allow you to do that. So you can try that. But if we have chance at the end, maybe I will demonstrate one and show you how to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
But I just wanted you to see for now, everybody, that if you wanted to, if you want to just play with the model, make a change and see the answer, a really powerful tool is to use Excel's watch window. Is a really fantastic tool to do that so that you can make it. What if I say 270, right? What if I make a number 270 or 268? What is it continuously doing to my answers? So that's one thing I wanted everyone to see there, and I hope you use it. It's a really nice skill. There's lots of great skills in Excel, and you want to know how to use as many of them as you can when you build models. Now, the next tip that I wanted to share with you is that on the assumption, you also saw that it's really important. It's very important to use color coding, right? I'll call this, I will call this color coding in models. I will say it is very, very important to make sure that inputs are a different color than outputs in a model. Does anyone know the standard convention? Does anyone know the normal convention here to, does anybody know the normal color coding that we typically use here in, oops, what did you share on the screen? Look at that. Look at that. Wow, that's fantastic, Christina. I love it. Wow.
So,
I've never
someone
had
asked
such a...
where the track changes, so I just
This is the watch window here. It is fantastic. I have never had such a great webinar helper in all my time. This is fantastic. You get screenshots, live screenshots as we go here. Color coding. It's very, very important to make sure that you know how to keep colors. Colors are so important in models. And I will tell you, generally, in a model, inputs, if you've never seen this before, are typically blue, and calculations are normally black. This is very, very common industry convention. And you can see here, I'm going to make them blue, right? So inputs in a model are usually blue. Calculations are typically black. So on my assumption page, you know, and why do we do that? We simply do that so that the user knows if I email this file to you, you know that all the blue numbers you can play with. You can change them. You can play with them. These are your assumptions, your data inputs. Whereas on the model sheet, does everyone see if I go to the model sheet, all of the numbers in the forecast are black. All the numbers in the forecast are black. So these are all links. They're links or they're calculations, right? There's no inputs here. They are black numbers. Now, my historical numbers are blue. That's okay, because those are inputs as well. The historical numbers are dead. So you have to type them in, but in the forecast, everything is black because it is some sort of a formula, okay? So that is a critical modeling convention. I hope you use that. Now, because we change colors a lot, because we change colors in models a lot, look at this. Imagine, please, you had a number in a model. Does everyone see that? And I wanted to make it blue. Look what I can do, guys, on my screen. If I want to make that blue, then boom, I make it blue. How about if I want to make it red? Oh, there it is. There's red. What if I want to make this a shaded yellow cell? Wow, I just make it shaded yellow. Christine's wanting to put a little help thing in the chat for everybody, but I have to figure out how to do that first. So that is... you know, when we work very quickly, if you're going to work very, very quickly in Excel, you need to be able to change colors, make it black, make it blue, make it red very, very quickly. What am I doing? How did I do that? Well, I will tell you that it's very, very important, and I will put a note here, to change colors very quickly. You need to customize your quick access toolbar, what's called the QAT. It's up here. Look at that. On my screen, there are some, does everyone see I have some squares on the top of my screen? There's a black one, a blue one. And when I press the Alt key, watch again. When I press the Alt key, I get numbers on top of, so when I want to make something red, I press Alt and the letter 8. The number 8, Alt 8 makes something red. Alt 7 makes it blue. Now you're wondering how I did that. I'm not going to have a chance in this webinar because it takes about 10 minutes to explain it, but I want you to watch on your own time. You're going to like it. Watch my LinkedIn video on changing colors. I got a lot of views, very, very important, powerful feature. And it's right here. Okay. It's right up here. There's a link to it. I'll copy it down here as well. It's not a long video, it's short, but in that video, you will go, it'll show you exactly step by step how to quickly change colors and customize your quick access toolbar. People love it. People who use People who do a lot of Excel work, they like having a customized quick access toolbar. So make sure you can do that, and it will allow you to work much faster. Okay, so keep that in mind. But most importantly, from this tip, I want you to know that it is really important. And by the way, I didn't ask you why. Why is it so important? Christina, maybe you can help answer the question. Why is it so important in a model to have inputs being one color, blue? All of the numbers I typed into a spreadsheet are blue, and anything that is a calculation is black. Why is that so important to have two separate colors? What do you think?
So that whoever has your model doesn't change the cells, so everything keeps in order.
Yeah, good. So first of all, so that somebody does not accidentally change a black number, but also, listen, if I email this model to Christina right now, Christina knows exactly which numbers she can play with, which ones can she change and play with because they're blue, and which ones are formulas and they will calculate by themselves. Very, very important. And it makes the model users feel much more confident when that is the case. Okay, so I wanted everyone to see that. Very important skill. Just doing that so far. So far, guys, I've showed you just a few things. Just doing these little things are going to have a huge impact. If you can start your models and do a little bit of planning, if you can think about the optimal flow in your model to tell a story. And by the way, in the AFM program that Jorge is going to talk about later in about 20 minutes, he will talk about that. This is what is covered in AFM. How do you plan a model? How do you make sure it flows well so it communicates? And then I told you to keep your assumptions up front, use this watch window, and make sure your inputs are blue. These are really critical tips. Now, let me move on to the next one. The third one I wanted to show you, this is one of the most important tips I could ever share with you. It says, create a scenarios page. I will tell you here, so important. Build a scenarios page in every model. I will tell you here, every model you ever build should include a scenarios page. Every single financial model that you ever build should have a scenarios page, and that's this one here. Let's take a look at it, guys, because I'm going to show you how to build it. I'm going to spend about 10 minutes. I'm going to spend about 15 minutes showing you how to do this one, Jorge, and then I'll spend about 5 minutes very, very quickly on the last two. So I'll probably go a few minutes over my time, but you guys have been doing some questions. So we'll just steal a little bit of time from the Q&A session at the end here. I want you to see every model you ever built in your life should have a page like this called a scenario page. And by the way, we go into great detail. We explain this. Look at that. Thank you. I will send a check to you afterwards, Christina, for posting my LinkedIn profile as well here. So you got the video. This is really spectacular. Thank you. She's posted the video for you as well, so you can see it, how to customize it's on my LinkedIn page or on YouTube, wherever you like. But I want to show you how to build this page. This is so important. And I just told you that every model you ever build in your life should have a page like this. And somebody mentioned earlier, I'm going back in the chat, I'm looking back in the chat. Some of you talked about managing risk. Some of you talked about managing risk. You talked about risk and volatility. I want you to see here, guys, what is a scenario page? Let me put a note here. Watch this quickly. A scenario page, this is scenarios page is just more assumptions. It's just more assumptions, but these assumptions are hard to forecast, hard for management to control, right? These are very hard to control, hard to forecast, like exchange rates or inflation or interest rates. These are variables that are hard to forecast, hard to control, but if they move around, they could have a big impact on the company. If they go up or down, they could really hurt the company. They could really benefit or hurt the company. So as a result, what I want to tell you is, what we want, we want to run numerous cases. And I'm going to build a base case, a best case, a worst case. I want to know, I want to be able to go back to my boss and say, here's what will happen to the company if we get the base case for commodity prices. But if it's the worst case, then this is going to happen to our company. Okay, super. Thank you. Jorge. So my point is that it's really important when you build any model to say, well, what would be the base case or the best or the worst case? Let me show you here. So cost inflation. Does everyone see? Does everyone agree? Cost inflation is a variable. Cost inflation is a variable that could go up or down a lot. And if it does, it could really harm a company or it could help a company. And I want to know. So I want to know what would happen to the company if it's the base case for inflation, or if it's the best case, or if it's the worst case. Same thing for the selling prices. Same thing for things like sales volume. Any variable that could go up or down, I want to know more than one option. And I'm going to show you how to build this right now, very, very quickly. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you a couple of really powerful Excel skills, guys. Watch this. First of all, if you ever want to build a scenario page in any model, and you should, the very first thing you need to do is step one. Step one is to make a large rectangle for the next 5 years, a large rectangle for the next 5 years that has all of your cases, your base, your best, and your worst. And these are blue, of course. So these are assumptions. These are assumptions, and they are blue. Does everyone see that? These are my assumption values. They are blue. I typed them in here. They are data inputs into the model. How do you get them? How do you decide? Well, you're going to talk to your boss, talk to your colleagues, do some research, and decide, what do you think the base case will be for inflation for the next 5 years? Or what's the best case? What's the worst case? So I'm going to put a note here. How do you get these numbers? How do you decide? Do some research, or talk to your boss or your client, etc. Talk to your client, talk to your boss, decide what you think is the most likely for the base, the best, and the worst. That's step number one. Look, these are just blue numbers. They're dead. I typed them in. It's an input. No formulas here, just inputted numbers. Very simple, very, very straightforward, very easy. Good. The next thing you need to do is build a switch. Look at this. Does everyone see? I have a scenario switch, and I put the number 1 there. So that's just an input as well. This is just an input. It has a 1. It's just a 1. I start by putting a 1. Now, the important row is this row. This is a skinny row, and it's black. This is not a blue number. Does everyone see this is black? So what's happening in this row? Very important. What am I doing? What am I doing in this row? This row is what? What's happening in this row? It's black. So it's some sort of an Excel formula. What do you think? Am I taking an average? I mean, is this row an average of the 3 underneath it? What do you think? Is it an average? Is it a sum? No, it's the selection. Thank you. Right, Sylvia? It's the live case. This is the selection. This is what I like to call the live case, the one running in the model. This is the one running. So right now, the skinny row has the base case. The base case is the one running the model. If I want, and that's because I have a 1 in the switch. Watch this, guys. If I put a 2 in the switch, now my live case is actually pulling up this. Now the best case is the live case. This is the one going to go into the model. And if I put a 3 here, take a look. If I put a 3, now the live case is pulling up this worst value. So this is the one running in the model. Let me put a note here. This skinny row is the one, the case running the model. Okay, that's it. So my question is this row has a formula, right? This is not an input. This is a calculation. Can you guys go to the chat? Which Excel function do you think I could use here? Eduardo, you're saying index. That's an option for sure. I could use index. What else? There's about 10 options here. So I'll put back to 1. This black row could be very nice. Eduardo's saying this could be index. It could be choose. It could be a lookup function, right? It could be VLOOKUP. It could be a VLOOKUP, could be an HLOOKUP. It could be an if statement. It could be an if statement, right? There could be an XLOOKUP. Very nice. You guys have used some of these features. Fantastic. Sylvia, have you used XLOOKUP before? Great. It's a new function in Excel. Awesome. The one I like to use, so I like all of them. They're all good. They're all good. But the one I find very helpful in this skinny row right now is Excel's choose function, which I'll show you. I've got a choose function in here. Just curiosity, how many of you have used Excel's choose function? Raise your hand. Obviously, Eduardo, you have, and I'm going to guess Sylvia, you have. Raise your hand if you have used the choose function before in Excel. I want to show you. I'm going to show you why I like it. I know you have, Eduardo. Who else has used it? Eduardo, who else has used this function? Very, very powerful feature, Manuel. You have? Okay, great. Let me show you in case you haven't seen it before. Good. It's very simple. Look what it does. The choose function simply says, look, where is the switch? Where is your switch? And then where are the three choices? Where's the switch and where are the three choices? Choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. It's very simple. It's a very, very, very simple tool, but that's what I like about it. That's why we like it, because your boss will understand it. Your client will understand it. It says, where's the switch? And then where's the option? So look, when I have a 1 in here, the choose is pulling out the first option. When you type a 1 in the switch, the choose function pulls the next item in the list. If I put a 2 in here, now the choose function says, okay, I will take the second option, which is this one. It pulls the second one from the list. It's so simple, but that's exactly why people like it. It's very easy, very obvious. And you can use this in any Excel spreadsheet you build. Who's going to try? Raise your hand if you will try it now. I really hope you tried it. It's so easy. Raise your hand if you're going to try it. I really hope you do. I want you to try this in any Excel spreadsheet you do, because I know you can build very powerful concepts and scenarios in any file by using this. Great. A number of you will try it. Perfect. Commit to doing it. You'll use it. It's very simple. You could use an index. Listen, I like the index function a lot as well, but it's much more complex. Not everybody understands it. How many people have used Excel's index? Raise your hand here. Raise your hand if you've used Excel's index function before. How many of you have, right? Anna, you've had Manuel, right? Eduardo, you've used it. Sylvia, you've used it. Okay. The index function is great. I like the index a lot. The problem with the index function, look at this, guys, is there's two versions of it. Does everyone see that? There are two versions. There was what's called an array form and a reference form. And I will tell you, most people who use it do not know the difference. Eduardo, you said you use it. Do you know the difference? Do you know the big difference between the array version and the reference version of an index function? I mean, and I'm only asking you because if you use this, your client might ask you, your boss might say, hey, Eduardo, what's the difference? What's going on? How does this work? And you know, even the help function in Excel is terrible. It does not explain it very well at all. So if you're going to use it, yeah, right. So if you want to shoot me a note, Eduardo, I can go through it. It's not complicated, but I don't want you to be in a situation where a client, Eduardo, is asking you, hey, what does this do? How does it work? What are all these different fields? What is an array and reference? And then you're not sure. And then they lose confidence. So if you understand it, great. But I love these choose because it's so simple. Now watch what I'm going to show you as well. And if you show the choose to anybody, they will understand it. And that's the nice thing. That's why we like it. It's very, very clean, very simple. Now, the last thing I want to show you is this. I don't like it. I do not want to hand it in. I do not want to send this to my boss with the number 1 here. I don't want my boss to see that number 1. What's the problem with having a 1? Christina, what do you think? Help me out. Why is it a problem to have a number 1 just sitting in the cell? I don't want my boss to see that. I do not want my client to see a little number 1 inside this cell D6. What's the problem with having it?
Because it's about interpretation. Like you constructed the model and you wrote 1, but you're the one who knows what 1 means. So Beautiful. It would be better if you could have like letters or something.
Beautiful.
Like a script.
Exactly. I'm going to build it. But if I email this to Eduardo, he's going to say, or Esteban, he's going to say, what does that mean? Why is there a 1 in this cell? It doesn't mean anything. What is 1? It's not clear. It's not telling a story, right? And Christina, you said it very well. It's not communicating clearly. So what I want to do is make someone understand exactly what that means. And so I'm going to show you how to build this. This is a really powerful visual tool called a drop-down. and it lives here. If you ever want to put what's called a little drop-down switch, what you do is you go to if you're in Excel, you have to open a menu called Developer. Now, if you are in Excel right now, raise your hand if you do not see the word developer. If you are in Excel and you do not see the word developer on your screen, raise your hand. I want to know if you do not have it in your Excel, because many people do not. It is not there. Esteban, do you have the word developer on your screen? Do you see it in Excel? You do.
Yes.
You do. Okay, great. Elena, you have it as well. You can see the word developer. You can see that menu in your screen if you have it in your Excel, or do you not have it? By default, people do not. Maybe you do not. No. So, Christina, do you see the word developer on your screen?
I just realized that in this computer, I don't have it, but I use Mac, so I don't think my example would be the best.
You're killing me. Well, that's okay. Elena does not have it either. Well, Mac, you can get it in a Mac as well. I'm going to show you then how to get it, guys. Watch what I'm doing. Do this once only, and then you will always get it. So what you need to do, if you want to get the developer menu, you must go here, File, and then down to Options. This is in a PC. You're going to go to File, Options. If you, Christina, are using a Mac, you're going to go to Excel Preferences. Okay, do that. Go to Excel Preferences, and then you're going to find the ribbon. You're going to have to go to customize the ribbon. So those of you in a PC, please go to File, Options, and then go to customize the ribbon, right? Elena, you can go there. If you're in did you find it there, Christina, in your Mac, Excel Preferences? What happens when you go to Excel Preferences? Because I can't see it. You go to Excel Preferences, and then in a Mac,
I go to the View option.
Okay, View, right.
So View, and then down, I have to click on the checkbox where it says Developer.
Perfect. So you go to in a Mac, it's Excel Preferences, and then you click on View. On a PC, it's File, Options, and you're going to go to Customize Ribbon and turn on the word Developer. Put a check mark there, and when you click OK, you will always have a new menu here that says Develop. Did you get it, Christina, on yours? The word Developer? You got it? Yeah. Did you get it, Esteban? Everyone got it? You all have it now? You guys got it? Good. Wow. Screenshots is incredible. High quality webinar coming here with all these screenshots. You should appreciate this. Yeah, fantastic. I love it. That is great. Yeah, you can see here it's under a Mac, Excel Preferences, and then you go View. Beautiful. Thank you, Christina, for that. Very helpful, because I don't have a Mac. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Esteban. In Spanish, beautiful. You can see it there. I love it. Thank you very much. I'll show your screen as well. I can't do it larger, but you get the idea, guys. Love it. Exactly, right? And there you have it. That's your developer tab. Now, let me build it for you quickly and show you what to do. And then I got two last things, and we're going to wrap this up. So what do? You go to your developer tab. And by the way, this is being recorded. Don't forget the session is being recorded. So you can go back and watch this after. And again, for anybody who does the program, with Jorge, you will also be able to do all of this in great detail. So I'm going to go to developer, watch this fast. I'm going to go to insert. I'm going to click insert, and then I'm going to go to, look at this one. Under the form controls, I'm going to click combo box. Okay, I'm going to click the combo box in the form controls. I'm going to click on it. And then it gives me a little plus, and I'm going to draw for you a giant combo box. So I'm just drawing a giant drop-down box, nothing fancy. I just drew it. I just drew it on the screen. Very simple. That's it. And this is the same, by the way. This is now the same if you are on a PC or a Mac. It's the same for either. Okay. Now it's exactly the same. Good. Then you're going to go to right click. You're going to right click on it, and I'm going to say format this control. Okay. I'm going to click format the control. And it wants to know two things. It says, where's the input range and where's the cell link? Where's the input range and where's the cell link? The input range just means, look what I did here, guys. The input range just means where is all of the words? Where are the words that you want to see in the dropdown? So those are the words, base case, best case, and worst case. Those are what I want to see in my dropdown. And then the second thing that it says is, where is your cell link? And watch this, the cell link just wants to know, where is the switch? That's it. So again, the input range means where is the words, cell link is where's the switch. That's it. And then when you open up your drop-down box, when you open it up, you will see all of the words base case, best case, and worst case. And now you can click on it. I can click on base, or I can click on best, and I can click on worst, and it runs those cases. It's very powerful. But what's it doing? The only thing it does is it puts a number in my cell. So when I click on base case, it puts a 1 in the switch. When I click on best case, it puts a 2 in that cell. And when I run the worst case, it puts a 3. Very, very simple. But Christina, to your point, I still don't want anybody to see that number 1 because it's confusing. So what should I do? What should I do now to get rid of that 1? I don't want anyone to touch that or to see it. What should I do with it now?
Put the letters on top of the cell.
Exactly. I'm going to hide it. I'm going to do what Christina said. I'm going to hide it. I'm going to take my drop down. I'm going to slide it on top and hide it like this. And now it's a beautiful tool because now your boss will open it up and Esteban's going to think, hey, this is a really cool scenario page. I can run the base case, the best case, the worst case, and I can see the model running with 3 different options. And so really powerful, guys. Every single Excel model you ever build in your life should have a scenario page. And I just showed you a couple of really great skills to run it. You will create so much confidence with your clients, and this could be anything. This does not need to be a forecast model. Anything you ever build in Excel that has more than one option, you can use a scenario like this with these options. Okay, questions there? Okay, on that note then, I've got 2 last tips I want to show you. I'm going to do these very quick. I've got 5 more minutes. I'm going to turn it back over. Just about done. I want to quickly show you the last 2 tips. They are similar, and I'm going to go through them very fast. Again, if you join me in the program later, you'll get them much more detailed, but I want to talk about repeat and link, and then build it, and then link it. So repeat and link means this. Repeat and link. What this means is, guys, I already told you that in a good model, all of your assumptions should be up front, right? Remember that? All of the assumptions, all the inputs should be up front. And then on the model sheet, everything should be calculated. Look, it's all black. All the numbers should just be calculations. There's no inputs here. All the inputs are up front. But what I want you to see is this. Repeat and link means you already know it's very important to have all the assumptions up front, right? You know that we talked about it. It's very important to have all of the assumptions up front. However, when you build all of your calculations, it's so important to first repeat all the assumptions once again on the model sheet. This is so important. So can I show this to you guys? Look at my screen here. On my revenue schedule, does everyone see here? I've got a revenue schedule, and on the revenue schedule, I'm at the very top. On the model sheet, on the revenue schedule, look what I have. I have a section for the selling price, the sales price. I have a section for the sales volume, and then we have revenue. Now, revenue is, of course, always a function of price times volume. You know that. Revenue is price times volume. Watch this. So the revenue here is just the selling price times the volume. Very simple. But watch this. When I build up the selling price section, first I repeated this value from the scenario page. I simply repeated it from here. All I'm doing is I'm repeating this value. So I just linked it and I repeated it. I also repeated a cost inflation. I'm repeating them. And then my formulas, what the beauty of that is that when you repeat, if you repeat every assumption, then when you build your formulas, they're so simple. Your formulas are so small and so simple. So I repeated an assumption, I repeated another assumption, and it makes me have very, very small, readable formulas all the way down. So every time I need to build a calculation, first I repeat the assumption, and then everything I need is right here. So this is so powerful because what this means is This allows your formulas to stay very short and simple and readable. Very readable. Has anyone seen this before? Has anybody ever seen a formula? I'm going to build something silly, guys. Has anyone ever seen a formula in a spreadsheet where someone did this? Someone went equals, and then they linked to a number on one sheet, and then you divided by a number on another sheet, and then you multiplied it by a number on a third sheet, and you added in a number. Has anybody ever looked in a spreadsheet and seen a piece of garbage, a disaster like this before? Never, right? Probably never. Has anyone seen this before? You've probably seen a lot worse. And then what? And then who mentioned it? Then it gets even fancier. Then they link to another workbook. Then they link to a file that's going to another workbook, and it's a disaster, and it's not working, and you don't know where things are coming and going. This is called a disaster. How do you avoid this? The way to make sure you never have formulas that look like this. You do not want formulas that look like this. How do you avoid it? You repeat every cell, repeat another cell, and then your formulas are tiny, and your formula is tiny all the way down. So I encourage you strongly to do that, to make sure everything is very clean and very readable. And that's the feature here called repeat and link. Repeat every single assumption, and then use it in formulas. And then the very last tip I want to share with you, and I want to give it back to Jorge to finish it off, is called build it, then link it. What this just means is this. It means that when you build the financial statements, there should be no big formulas. There should be no big formulas on the statements. When you build your financial statements, no big formulas. So no big calculations on the income statement, cash flow statement, or balance sheet. Look at this. If I go down to the income statement on this model, look, when I click on the revenue line, it's just a link. It's a straight link. There's no big formula for revenue. If I go to the cost line, there is no big formula, just a link. And where it's coming from is a schedule. The way to build powerful financial models is to build a schedule for revenues, build a little schedule for the revenues for the company, and then your income statement just links to the bottom. And then build a little schedule for a company's costs. You arrive to your total costs, and then the income statement just links to the bottom. Every single line item on my income statement is a link to a schedule either above or below. And look at this. Every single line is so simple, so clean. It's called build it and then link it. Guys, if you use just these 5 simple little tips that I shared with you today, I know that your models will communicate much more clearly, and you will have an ability to build forecasts that create so much confidence and make people feel very comfortable in your skills. And again, it's so important because we need our models to make so many important decisions. So those are some things I wanted to show you. If there's any questions, I'll watch the chat and we'll see if we have a few minutes left. But I wanted to get that done so you've got a good 10-15 minutes. And then if you're done early, we can see if there's any questions, but I want to turn it over to you to share what you wanted to share about what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you, Ian, for such a vibrant and energetic presentation as usual.
Stop my
I'm gonna turn to Spanish now. I have my material in Spanish, so but I'm pretty sure you will understand 95% at least of the material. So let me just share my screen.
I won't, but I expect Christina's going to translate it instantly as you go. So
I'm sure she will. Yeah. Ok, tal vez solo Cristina me cuenta si se ve. Vamos a presentar acá la pantalla.
Ahí estoy viendo
Sí,
Canva,
Canva, ¿verdad?
pero
Sí.
la parte editable.
Sí, vamos a ver aquí, se mira
Ahí
la
está.
presentación.
Sí, veo la
Bueno,
presentación.
ok. Buenas noches, yo voy a presentar en español. Cristina, como es canchita y ojos claros, le gusta presentar en inglés, pero yo parezco más del pueblo, así que voy a compartirles esta muy breve. No me voy a tardar más de 8 o 10 minutos en estas slides donde lo que queremos es compartirles todo lo que presentó Ian, que estoy seguro deja ganas para más. Efectivamente, el programa que él maneja y es el que nosotros estamos incorporando acá en conjunto con la Universidad del Valle, básicamente cubre mucho de lo que Ian tocó acá y definitivamente lo detalla y lo profundiza más. De hecho, algunas personas que están en este webinar ya tomaron una capacitación en esta línea anteriormente. Entonces, ¿qué es este proceso de construir los estados financieros, esta proyección, que básicamente es lo que hace este programa del Advanced Financial Modeler? Se parte de un caso de negocios, tal como decía Ian, hay un business case, aquí no voy a, por supuesto, entrar en detalle, pero es un business case que nos identifica muy bien con lo que nosotros vemos en la empresa en el día a día. Este es un programa y un material tremendamente aplicable en la empresa y los negocios. Entonces, se parte de un caso de negocios, una proyección donde se tiene proyección de ventas, de costos, de gastos, que precisamente van a servir para armar esas premisas, esos inputs, ese scenario page que hablaba Ian. Entonces, partimos de un caso de negocios, como aquí pueden ver la descripción del caso de negocios, y la idea, el propósito final es llegar a ese reporte, ya sea digital o impreso, donde tenemos esa carátula, esa hoja de escenarios, ese executive summary, esa página de premisas, etcétera, todos los estados financieros. Este es el objetivo final que se nutre o nace de este caso de negocios que se plantea al inicio y que nos hace llegar a este set de estados de resultados, balanza general, estado de flujo de caja, bien presentable, bien profesional, elegante, con carátula, con todos sus módulos, como bien explicaba Ian, y por supuesto lo que está en medio básicamente es el programa, el AFM, lo que hace es en este Excel, el corazón del programa es desarrollar ese modelo que tiene, aquí no se alcanza a ver, pero aquí están todas las partes del cover, summary, scenarios, etcétera. Se trabaja en este modelo, en este desarrollo paso a paso para poder llegar eventualmente a este paso final, que es ese reporte, ese PDF, porque de hecho muchas veces los usuarios finales, los gerentes, las juntas directivas, realmente no miran el Excel, a veces miran solo el PDF, solo el documento final, entonces quieren ver algo completo, profesional, elegante y por supuesto bien presentable y sin errores. Entonces, este Excel es el puente o el medio que nos lleva a esta meta final de los estados financieros. Y por cierto, bien importante, en este programa AFM se proyectan estos estados financieros, pero esta metodología, este proceso sirve perfectamente bien para hacer evaluación de proyectos, evaluación de empresas. Yo lo uso en todas esas áreas y encima también, por ejemplo, para préstamos bancarios. Hay personas que me contratan para presentar sus flujos bancarios para préstamo al banco y adivinen qué uso, exactamente lo que tenemos acá. Y los bancos rara vez hacen una pregunta de, mire, y aquí no entiendo por qué es así, sino básicamente esto es muy aplicable para lo que es el negocio del día a día nuevamente. ¿Qué implica? En un momentito vamos a hablarles de este curso que damos. Por cierto, sé que algunos de ustedes no residen en Guatemala, entonces de hecho les voy a mencionar muy brevemente para los que están en Guatemala y pudieran estar interesados en un curso presencial y los que no están en Guatemala que pudieran estar interesados en alguna opción online. Pero independientemente de la capacitación que nosotros les ayudemos, el examen, el AFM, es en inglés, se imparte 4 veces al año. Las siguientes fechas es en febrero, en mayo, en junio, por ahí. Se tienen más o menos una por trimestre. Esto lo administra el FMI, es en inglés y nosotros preparamos y capacitamos y hacemos un bundle package para poder preparar y ofrecer esta acreditación con nuestro apoyo y nuestra preparación como parte del proceso. Bien importante para todos ustedes que pudieran estar relacionados, interesados o de alguna manera involucrados con el programa del CFA Institute. De hecho, mañana Ian tiene un webinar en la mañana del CFA donde va a discutir sobre los Practical Skill Modules, donde el FMI, de hecho, ahora es el proveedor de material para el nivel 1 del CFA en su módulo de Financial Modeling. En otras palabras, Ian es facilitador o preparador de ese módulo dentro del programa CFA. Entonces, para los que conocen ese programa, el CFA, sepan además que este material es ahora parte de ese proceso del CFA Level 1. Eso es bien importante en cuanto a la calidad y lo robusto del programa. En este programa, lo que hacemos es básicamente lo que mencionamos, es proyectar ese caso de negocios, proyectar los estados financieros y profundizar en todos los anexos, el schedule de ventas, el schedule de costos, el schedule de CAPEX y depreciaciones, impuestos. Y bien importante, este revolver, que es una de las joyitas, creo que vieron Ian cómo presenta de manera fluida y muy completa. Él tiene una manera, una fórmula, una estructura de poder modelar las líneas de crédito revolventes, que de hecho también tocamos en este programa, más todo lo demás que ya vimos. En el curso dura varias horas, por supuesto son varias sesiones, pero el examen, el día que tomen los que estuvieran interesados, el examen, en 4 horas tienen que preparar esto. Entonces, desde el business case hasta los estados financieros finales, se tiene un periodo de 4 horas para poder hacer esto en un examen supervisado. Por supuesto, ese proceso nosotros lo cubrimos en muchas horas de capacitación para poder preparar y entrenar para ese examen. Ahorita vamos, Esteban, al final vamos a dejar un momentito para preguntas. Entonces, específicamente para los que residen en Guatemala y estuvieran interesados en una capacitación presencial, nosotros tenemos un bundle, un paquete que incluye el ticket al examen de AFM. Tenemos videos grabados en español, eso los provee el Higher Finance Institute. Tenemos las sesiones en el campus de la Universidad del Valle. Y además tienen, creo que son de 12 a 15 horas de videos de Ian ya dentro del portal del FMI como parte de preparación. Que si lo que vieron aquí de él en hora y cuarto, una hora y cuarto les gustó, pues van a tener, además de todo lo que van a ver con nosotros, van a tener con él otras 12, 15 horas de videos muy similares a los que vieron acá. Y además se tiene una comunidad de aprendizaje donde, aunque los videos son bajo demanda y son grabados, se puede hacer consultas a un community manager en el Learning Community, donde no en tiempo real, pero sí en muy pocas horas les dan una respuesta a cualquier duda que puedan tener. Por supuesto, mucha práctica y mucha material para que puedan practicarlo. Y en el caso nuestro de HFI, nosotros como respaldo de calidad, si por alguna razón no aprueban el examen, pueden volver a tomar el curso online. Quiero ser bien claro en esto, que es el curso bajo demanda que tenemos en nuestra plataforma, lo pueden volver a tomar sin ningún costo en caso no aprueben el examen. Hay ciertas condiciones y restricciones que podemos ampliarlas. Esto no incluye el fee, el registro ante el FMI, pero sí incluye todo el material de preparación que nosotros damos bajo demanda, lo pueden volver a tomar en caso no aprueben el examen de AFM. Por último, acá les dejo la información. Aquí están los datos para los que residen en Guatemala. Pueden contactar a los números de WhatsApp que tienen en pantalla. Pueden tomar una foto de la pantalla y después se les va a hacer llegar de todos modos. Y para las personas que no residen en Guatemala, de otros países, me pueden contactar y yo con mucho gusto les puedo dar otras alternativas online en caso estuvieran interesados en este programa. Específicamente el curso acá con VG inicia el 2 de octubre. Yo lo voy a impartir en apoyo en conjunto con la Universidad del Valle y cualquier persona interesada pues puede escribir por WhatsApp o por correo y con mucho gusto Cristina y su equipo les van a dar información. Así que de parte mía, muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos y esperamos verlos en estos programas en los próximos días o semanas. Y Cristina, no sé si usted quisiera cerrar o agregar algo, de mi parte creo que ahí estaríamos con esta información y usted nos dice qué paso seguimos.
Ok, muchas gracias. Pues antes de pasemos a la parte de preguntas y respuestas, porque imagino que si tienen preguntas, me gustaría aprovechar que tenemos bonita audiencia, así que si pueden encender sus cámaras un momento para tomar una fotografía, yo voy a decir 1, 2, 3, y como tengo 3 páginas porque somos bastantes, si me permiten unos minutitos, solo voy a tomar la foto, les digo siguiente, tomo la segunda foto y siguiente, y tomamos la tercera foto. De esa manera podemos guardar el recuerdo. And Ian, we're going to take a picture. So I'm asking everyone to turn on their cameras. I have 3 pages here. So I'll take the first picture, second picture, and third picture.
Wow, they listen to you. I guess they know you mean business.
Yeah, please share this picture. I'll be sharing this picture with you. So if you can post it on your LinkedIn, it will help us a lot. So I'll start with the first page. So please show a big smile, and on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, so I'm heading to the second page. There's still some that haven't turned on their cameras. Okay, I'll take a picture here. 1, 2, 3, smile. And oh, there's no third page. I think someone disconnected. Okay, so what's next? It's the Q&A part. We would like you to ask questions. I don't know if you have questions for either Jorge or Ian. Okay, I can see here a question. Oh no, so there are no questions.
If anyone does, you can send them now or later. We can deal with them after. You can send them to Jorge or to me after as well, if you like. But happy to stick around if anyone does have questions.
Thank you, Ian. And before you leave, we would like to announce that we have a discount coupon on this course that Jorge was introducing. So if you participated today in our webinar, or if you subscribe but you couldn't connect to it, we're gonna have this discount coupon, and you will have 24 hours to redeem it. En español, para las personas que están interesadas en tomar el curso con nosotros, estamos ofreciendo un descuento o beneficio del 20% descuento sobre el precio normal de venta. Entonces quedan cordialmente invitados, me pueden escribir, ahí les envié mi link de WhatsApp en el chat y será un gusto poder contar con su participación. Sé que esto será de mucho beneficio para su crecimiento profesional. Así que si no hay preguntas, pues daríamos por concluido el webinar, pero no sé si alguien quiere animarse a levantar el micrófono o incluso una palabra de agradecimiento. Esteban.
Muchas gracias. Como diría Jorge, yo también en español, porque somos del pueblo. No, mentira. La verdad es que agradecer. Thank you very much, Ian. That's an amazing webinar, and I think we'll take something with us that's gonna help us a lot. Jorge, de verdad que muchísimas gracias. Siempre un gusto. Y Cristina, también gracias por darnos acceso a estos seminarios, webinars y a estos contactos, de verdad. Yo solo les quería preguntar, ¿las notas de la sesión nos las van a mandar por correo o cómo tenemos acceso a ellas?
Ok, al concluir esta capacitación, este webinar, me pasan la grabación, yo la tengo que pasar a Vimeo y luego que ya tengo el link de la sesión, se los hago llegar por correo electrónico al que ingresaron en el formulario y a sus WhatsApps. Ian, the documents that you shared with us today, could you please send it to me so that I can send them to them?
Sure. How do you, yes, do I have your contact? You let me
Or
know.
you can send it to me and I'll forward
Sure.
it.
Yeah, or Christina,
Yes.
you can send me your,
right there.
you put your WhatsApp here too. I'll send them tonight, and then I'll send them tonight, and then you can forward them off. That would be great.
Ian,
Okay.
I have a very quick question. I've seen many of your videos, and neither in the AFM material nor in any other of your videos, I have seen that you use the cell name. Do you have any position on the name using a cell name? Is neutral, or do you have any comments on of using the name on the cell?
Great. It's an excellent question. I am neutral. I'm happy. Listen, I have no problem with them, but I feel like people overuse them, and it's very much related to this. Oops, I guess I should share my screen. If I'm actually showing you my Excel, you probably can't see it if I don't share my screen, right? Can you see it now then, Jorge?
Yeah.
So it very, very much is related to this tip here, repeat and link. And let me show you what I mean just in 1 minute, and then we'll wrap up. Has anybody, raise your hands, has anybody ever seen an Excel spreadsheet where someone was naming the cells all over the place? You've seen that before, guys, where people do that, they name cells. Well, if you've seen that, and it's okay, I don't have a problem with it, but by definition, every cell has a name already, right? Christina, help me out. What's this cell's name? This is a cell. Do you know what his name is? He's got a name.
K87.
Very nice. So his name is K87. I could rename it, right? I could go to this cell right now. I could say, no, I don't like that name. I'm going to rename this cell Christina. There you go. So there is Christina. Now I no longer, that's K87 is gone. Look what I've got here. I've said we got K85, K86. Oh, there's Christina. And then K88 and K89. So K87 is gone. I've named it. Now, why do people do that? Well, because now let's imagine I named a cell, here, and I wanted to see what was Christina in the model. I could just say equals Christina, and you see, as soon as I start typing that name, it knows I'm referencing. So I don't have to remember what cell the address is. If I say, hey, go get me Christina, it will pull the cell that was named Christina in the sheet. Why do people do that? Remember I showed you earlier that so often in spreadsheets, people build formulas that are a disaster, and they do this, right? Someone says, I'm going to build a formula that is this, and then it divides by, they're going to divide by this, whatever, they do this, divide by this, they're going to multiply by something else, whatever. I'm just making something up here. And then they add on whatever, and then they add on that, right? Who cares? So well, in my experience, when people build huge formulas, like this, and then they go, oh boy, this is a disaster. Nobody's going to understand what this formula is talking about. Nobody's going to understand this calculation at all. So they think, how can I solve it? How can I make it easier for my boss to understand this? Well, what they do is they go back and they rename all those 4 cells. So then what you're seeing is, I have whatever, a value, maybe divided by whatever this was a conversion factor. People name things, and then they feel like, oh, you could read it like you can read it like language. My position is, if you like to do that, that's fine. But in my experience, it is much less necessary to name cells if you do this. If you decide to repeat every cell and repeat, and then build a tiny formula, you will probably find it's much less necessary. Like, why do I need to name this cell and this cell? It's pretty obvious, right? You can see it. So the point is, if you like naming, great. If you like to name a cell, perfect. If you want to go to your tax rate here and you want to name this cell tax rate like that, and then in the model, you want to pull it and you want to retrieve it, and you want to just go here and say, equals tax rate. Okay, no problem. I don't have a problem with that. But I just think that you will find that if you're using repeat and link, it's much less necessary because everything's clear anyway. So it's personal preference. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's personal preference. I hope that makes sense.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so great question, and it's great to be with all of you here this evening. I hope I'll get down in person and maybe see some of you at some point directly, which would be fun. Is that a question, actually? Do you, I'm happy to stick around. Another, Jorge, do you have a question, Avila? Did you want to ask?
It's another Jorge Avila.
I have a question. I saw that you project the 2023 year, but for example, well, now the current year is September.
Right.
So what do you recommend to use the information
You're right. No, you are 100% correct. I had not rolled it forward. By the time I get into September of a year, you should 100% be forecasting for the next year, right? There's no point forecasting the current year at that point. You're right. I absolutely, for this model, I should have rolled it forward and I should be forecasting 2024 to 2028. You're absolutely right. You know, when do you do that? It depends. I mean, if it was February of 2023, if we were in the month of February, I would probably still be forecasting the 2023 and then the rest. But at some point, when you have a very good feeling for what 2023 will actually be, then you start forecasting the next 2024 and onwards for sure. Yeah.
Okay. But you use the data of January to September and the rest of the year, you project them. No, or not?
No, then what you would do is you would try to have a forecast. So your 2023, even though 2023 is not finished yet, by September, you have a very, very good idea for what the 2023 is going to be. And you would treat the full year as if it was actual, even though it's not finished yet. You should have a very good idea for what the full year will look like. Very, very close, because 9 months is already actual. So you should have a very good idea and you'll get guidance. So you'll pretend that 2023 is actual, even though it's not 100% finished yet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You could also model, Jorge, you could also build a forecast quarterly if you want, but it's often not necessary. You could have, this could be Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, and then, you know, whenever a quarter becomes actual, you could mark it actual and then forecast the next quarters. But again, that's it. Most models is fine to be annual. It depends on the need of the model, but there's nothing wrong with putting 2023 actual here, even if it's not done yet.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Good question. Good question. Anyone else have anything here before? Well, I hope you all get into modeling and interested and really become strong, and it will benefit you. It's like riding a bicycle. Once you know it, you know it, and you really benefits you your whole career. So I really hope that you take advantage and hopefully use it to improve your skills. Would love to participate. And yes, as I heard Jorge say, I did create the financial modeling learning materials that's now part of the CFA Institute, the CFA Level 1 program. So if anyone's going to do CFA Level 1, I have bad news. You're going to be stuck with me anyway. You're going to have to deal with me for 15 hours of modeling content as part of your CFA journey. I'm sorry, I apologize, but you can't get away from me now. But anyway, that's you will see me part of the CFA program. You'll see me hopefully here. And I hope to see some of you in person. So
great. Thanks, Ian.
Okay.
Thank you. Es solamente agradecer. Thank you very much, Ian, and thank you to each of para todos ustedes. Muchas gracias. Ya me trabé. Ya entró el olor de los frijoles, diría Jorge.
Sí.
Bueno, que tengan todos una linda noche.
Thanks,
Gracias
Ian.
por unirse
Gracias
a
a
este
todos.
webinar.
Thank you,
Hasta
guys.
luego.
Have a great
Feliz noche a
evening.
todos.
Adiós, feliz noche.
Adios.